We could have also done this live at this time in the morning on LinkedIn. Do you want to go?
My kids have just gone out.
Do you want to go live?
Shall I shut the door? So if anyone
all right, I might do it. Let's see. I can do edit, and we can go live if you want to go live.
If you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it.
I think we both like a little bit of thrill, don't we?
Yes, we do. Okay, I'm going to do live on LinkedIn and live on both Facebook pages. And we're just going to say special edition. I need to write a description real quick. Okay.
We're squeezing it in between holidays.
We are, yes.
So pumped to begin on holiday.
Heather Landex, author of Inclusive colon. Oops. I should just copy it. The new exclusive. Okay. Okay. Heather's in Tracy and Heather chat. And Heather are going to chat about, I'm just going to put how the food service industry can stop leaving money on the table. Okay.
There's a noise on your end, is there? I can hear something.
That's my mom leaving with the garage door opener. So we'll just wait till I hit record and we'll go from there. Okay, schedule for later.
Is it about 20 minutes?
Yes, 20 to 30. Can we do 30?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we're going to customize for each destination. We're just going to go with it and save changes. And I'm going to go. All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Tracy Stuckrath, founder of the Eating at a Meeting podcast and Thrive Meetings and Events. And this is a special edition of the Eating at a Meeting podcast live. Heather and I were, my guest today, Heather Landex, and I were just going to pre-record it, but we're like, let's just go live. So that's what we're going to do. Heather and I met on LinkedIn via some platform or some conversation or chat that was on LinkedIn. And she is my twin, talking about inclusivity in food and beverage, but in Denmark. And so we just found this great collaboration. And so we wanted to share it with you. Heather is an experienced food safety auditor from the UK who now lives in Denmark. She's a vegan and suffers from allergies and intolerances. And she has moved from being a generic auditor into an inclusivity expert by sharing her insights, experiences by first authoring a book titled Inclusive, the New Exclusive, and is now helping restaurants or any other food service business see the money that's being left on the table. And I am right there with you, Heather. So good morning. Or you're in UK or Denmark.
Afternoon.
So
Yes.
Afternoon. Yes. Okay. Yep. It's early morning, 8 a.m. here. So I just got Heather's book in the mail. Yay. And I'm only on chapter 2. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we totally think alike and want to make change. So talk to me about how you went from an auditor to an inclusivity. What did you call it? You called it to me. You told me an inclusivity obsession. So tell me about that as it relates to food and beverage.
Actually, it starts a little bit before COVID because a lot of writing a book was due to COVID that I had the opportunity to do that because I got locked up. But before that, I was going around Denmark. I also go around Sweden quite a lot, but I'm originally trained in the UK, looking at brand restaurants for safety, food safety mostly. And then I usually stay in a hotel and I also do a little bit of it, my own audit when I'm there.
I am guilty of that as well.
Yeah, and there had been a bit of a stress in the family. Someone had died and I was really tired. And I thought, oh, I don't feel very well. And when I woke up on the third day of this, like I do intensive little tours around all these far away restaurants, I woke up and I was all puffy. And I thought, oh, I must have got too hot. Oh, I took a cold shower. And then I thought, oh, I can't feel my face, that sort of thing. So I rang what we call it the emergency doctors. It's a bit like calling the hospital, but not an ambulance. And they told me, oh, go to emergency. And I was like, that means I have to miss work, and it's like a 15-minute walk away. Like, there's no point me walking. I just wanted some antihistamines, but there was nowhere open to buy some, and I hadn't needed them that year. I hadn't had any hay fever, so I was doing pretty well for allergies that year. But then I started getting this rash all over my torso, and I was like, oh, it must have been heat rash. Oh, so I went to breakfast and had a coffee, and I was just about to check out, and I told the receptionist, oh, I feel a bit dodgy. Can you just keep an eye on me? And she offered me an antihistamine. So I took an antihistamine and I thought, all right, cool. I'll just wait half an hour and I'll feel better. And then I sat there and I felt so dreadful. I stood up to go and say, oh, I think I do need an ambulance. She had to lie me down behind reception. It was really embarrassing. And it wasn't until about 20 minutes later that I realised I wasn't going to die of anaphylaxis. I just had a very bad allergy. And at the hospital, when they pumped me full of drugs and tested your heart and all these other things, they said, avoid milk because it might be worse next time. And I said, but I'm vegan. And they said, yeah, it's really common that there's milk in vegan food. And I'm like, but I'm a food safety professional. I know that, but it's only may contain. It's not absolutely, sometimes it absolutely contains a ton. a ton of milk. And it's dangerous because people assume if it's vegan, it doesn't contain milk, egg, fish, shellfish, all of the very common allergies. So that's why I got a bit angry about this. And the more I sort of talk to people about it, that there's just complete ignorance across the board, even in the allergy sufferers. So then I was like, now I have to write a book about this because there's actually a lot of opportunity in a vegan option being suitable for all the people with those animal-related allergies. Mm-hmm. That's how it all began.
Well, okay, that's scary, but also fantastic that you took that experience and have written this book. But I remember a story from London where a woman went into a vegan restaurant and she has a milk allergy and she went into anaphylactic shock. And the vegan restaurant said, well, we don't confirm all of the products that we buy from other people to make sure that they're vegan.
And a lot of vegan products may contain disclaimers, and this disclaimer is sort of a get-out-free jail card. That they think if they have the disclaimer, they don't have to take care. When obviously they still have to take care, and if it is contaminated, they still have to recall it. They're still as liable with or without the disclaimer. They might as well do a proper job.
Right, a proper job. Okay, so what's a proper job? From your perspective as a food safety auditor, what's a proper job?
You're going to be annoyed with me. Because legally, plant-based and vegan doesn't mean anything. So you can do what you like. So that is a proper job by the legal minimum. Being compliant isn't very nice.
No. But
a proper job is just considering these people who might not be able to eat in your restaurant because they will take away the group with them, or they'll want to eat so badly that they'll take a risk. And all of that is involved in managing your ingredients and communicating clearly what the risk of contamination is. And obviously, it's a bit like pest control. You never want to say we've got good pest control. It's not a great marketing strategy. But saying that this is guaranteed contamination-free is a massive strategy because there's more people avoiding milk than there are vegans. There's more people avoiding egg, milk, shellfish, fish than there are vegans. And the vegans don't see it because all the vegans want to do is stop the demand for animal products. And actually, there's a lot of reasons to be vegan, but that's the sort of generally assumed is that they don't want to harm any animals. So if it's contaminated or not, it's still vegan.
Okay, so, and that's a big quandary. And in your book, you were talking about, and granted, I've only gotten to chapter 2, but how the properties, the venues, they look at it they look at it a different way. They need to look at it as starting from the base and then moving up. And I'm saying it the wrong way, but looking at this as an opportunity to do this versus looking at it as a struggle. And actually that reminds me of a woman I was speaking to last week, and she runs a conference center. And long story about how I started talking to her, but she's like, vegans should just be okay with coming to an event or a venue and not being able to eat anything because that's their choice. And I literally wanted to go through the phone and like punch her, but because I said something about, this is an inclusive issue and under the ADA, for different reasons. And she just said, I get food allergies, but everybody else, it's just a preference. And so they should just be okay with not eating.
That really annoys me because actually a lot of vegans, after you stop eating milk for some months, you become lactose intolerant. And probably it's a slippery slope to be very lactose intolerant. Like that's probably why I thought I had a problem with milk, because I had lactose intolerance. Mm-hmm. And it's anyone who avoids milk, because naturally humans really aren't supposed to drink milk, especially not from another species, which is probably why we have all these allergies to milk anyway. But after infancy, naturally we're supposed to go down in the enzyme that digests lactose. So it's normal to be lactose. It's not actually a disability to be lactose intolerant. It's completely normal. And that's annoying. But even vegetarians, if you feed them meat, they're probably going to vomit. My husband's a lifelong vegetarian, and he sneaks off because he's so polite. If someone's fed him something cooked in goose fat, he'd vomit. So it is a safety issue.
Because your body has just become accustomed to not eating that way, and introducing that new ingredient into your system, your body's going to say, kind of like an allergy, what is that? Get rid of it.
And you don't have the natural bacteria to help digest it. So you actually can't digest it properly. And the quickest way for your body to deal with that is for it to come back up. Or be very uncomfortable. And another thing that annoys me, in the NHS in the UK say all of these things are causes discomfort. And that gives it a bad rep as well, because it's actually really painful to have an intolerance, and it can injure you. Just because it's not an allergy doesn't mean it's not severe and you should take every care to.
Right.
I think this free from, like the allergy claim that it's got 0 in, that's very scary for liability reasons. Mm-hmm. But actually it's the same with all food safety. You always have some level of risk that you are liable for, even if the worst happens.
Okay, so let's talk about, and I asked you this last week or 2 weeks ago when we first chatted, the word guarantee. Mm-hmm. You're coming into a restaurant, and that's what a lot of people say, this is gluten friendly or this is such and such, because they don't want to be liable for guaranteeing that something is milk free or dairy, lactose, I can't even come up with another, shellfish free or something like that. Right. So, and I know that they can't guarantee it because their facility is not 100% free of that item. But there's still food safety practices that they should adhere to.
There's also the whole manufacturer's rules are different to restaurants. Okay. So they do have to test things, but you can't really test a dish in a restaurant. It's not going to mean, it doesn't mean anything. But you can guarantee your processes, you can guarantee your ingredients, and you can even have within the specifications when you're creating a contract, if you substitute it, it still has to be allergy friendly. And I think the problem is calling it free from does mean something, because you're saying it is suitable specifically for someone who has an allergy. But when they've requested something, you can quite easily deliberately make something suitable for, because you can open a new, and then the manufacturer is guaranteed before that. So you can make guarantees. But I think the trouble is they put a disclaimer on everything. So our kitchen contains however many allergies you have in your country, and they list them all. And you're like, actually, your menu doesn't contain nuts. So I've seen advice, and it's from a big compliance firm that I know quite well. And they said, you have to be very careful about nuts and peanuts. And in the world, that seems to be the famous allergy for killing people. And it tends to be severe in children, and it's all very shocking. However, the biggest killer and the most common allergy is milk. So
Wow.
even the big compliance firms don't seem to see the numbers. They only see the fame. It's like the individual who makes the policy. They have to
Right.
understand how many people it affects. And it affects way more than the people that have anaphylaxis. So they're seeing 1 in 1,000 people, when actually 20% of people have a problem with one of these ingredients. So it's a
And I
huge
think
market.
it's higher than that when you
I
consider.
think it's bigger than that, but that I can only get away with guaranteeing that it's that. Yeah, like at least 20% of people report themselves in the UK that they have a food allergy. So that's what they say. The customer says, yeah.
Yeah, and here in the U.S., from Dr. Ruchi Gupta's research, it's 32 million Americans and 26 million adults have food allergies, and that's double what was being said for decades. And so that's really, really startling. But, thinking of milk as well, you've got individuals who follow kosher diets and they can't have milk with meat. And that's
someone's died in a kosher restaurant,
mm-hmm.
and it was a kosher meat restaurant, so there shouldn't be any milk. And that was a lady in her 20s, I think. She might even have been 19. And that was in Israel. So that was quite recent that someone's died expecting kosher to mean free from.
Right.
It's consumer expectation is that if it's vegan, it's not supposed to contain animals. I think that's quite a logical, common sense attitude. But all of the manufacturers have this alibi, and it's funny that it's called alibi labeling. By the way, it's might do.
Right. Yeah, might do. Okay, so now let's flip it from this negative aspect of it, and let's talk about the positives of doing this. And Mike Antich here in the U.S. has a website for allergies, Allergy Eats. And one of his statistics that I heard years ago was that, and you have it in here as the common denominator, is, when somebody who has a food allergy goes out to eat with a group of people, the common denominator is that person with food allergies. So we're going to choose a restaurant where I can eat or where you can eat versus the whole group. But is that part of that, the positive side of that? Can you explain?
So I could give myself as an example because I can say a lot about myself. I can't say about anyone else. But if I'm the annoying vegan, lactose intolerant with other weird food things that I don't eat, like beetroot, I'm extremely annoying if my sister wants to eat out with all of the family. I'm that annoying little sister, right? But if she can go somewhere that she knows I'm happy, she didn't even have to check with me that we can eat there. She can just book it. And it's that ease of purchase. It completely makes the customer journey, which you would do for other people, makes it easy for them to buy from you. And including having sides and upsells and drinks. They always forget the drinks, like gluten-free drinks, vegan drinks. It's not in people's awareness that wine might not be suitable for someone with an allergy or a vegan.
Exactly.
It's just awareness, a lot of it. And sometimes it's because people don't like the word vegan, or they have a bad experience of someone pretending to have an allergy. And to be fair, my lactose intolerance is so bad, I'd say I had an allergy if I didn't trust them. And I even know heads of safety, directors of safety of, several million, tens of millions of pound companies. And they say they have an allergy to milk because they have an aversion to cheese. But it makes them feel that bad physically that they would say they had an allergy.
And so they just haven't gotten tested for it.
No, she just hates the sight and the taste and the smell of cheese so bad that she'd be sick if you had cheese in a dish.
Wow.
But if she didn't know it was there, she wouldn't react. That's the aversion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
It's a psychological thing. I'm a little bit the same with the smell of fish. Like the taste of fish is fine. I used to eat fish fingers when I was a kid, but it's because fish fingers don't smell as much as a proper piece of fish. Yeah. And when my mother used to eat kippers and I used to just have to go out, I used to stay at a friend's house. But it's only the smell. It makes me feel sick. And it was terrible when I was pregnant as well. It would actually make me be sick.
Well, and that's a whole nother dietary need that people don't even consider is pregnancy. And that's a medical condition that people shouldn't be, the medical community says don't eat these foods and et cetera when you're pregnant, alcohol included, right? And so, but it's still a roll of the eyes kind of situation when, oh, I can't eat that, right? Or
even if you say you're teetotal because you used to be an alcoholic,
mm-hmm.
or because you're on medication where you shouldn't have alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
people roll their eyes because they think you're antisocial. That annoys me.
Yeah. Well, and I posted something the other day from a UK alcohol organization, non-alcohol organization. It's like, let's stop sober shaming people. You know, if we choose to be sober, we shouldn't be shamed for doing that.
It's a little bit the same with vegans, because some people are just plant-based, but they're actually vegan, and it's because of health. And it's because they don't want meat because they think it's a carcinogen, and it's even proven to damage DNA and all these other medical reasons not to have it. And it can be that a plant-based diet helps people reduce inflammation, and all sorts of reasons for calling it a health reason for wanting to avoid something.
Mm-hmm.
Even diabetics are trying to reduce weight, or trying to reduce cholesterol, or trying to heart disease, all sorts of things that might make you want to avoid these ingredients.
Right.
And it's none of your business as the business. You know, if you're serving someone customer service,
mm-hmm.
you give them what they want and what they ask for. And you don't have to ask them personal questions about it. Is it a choice? Is it a health preference? Fair enough if it's a safety reason that, you know, they need an EpiPen or something. You might want to know that in advance so that you take care. But there's ways to invite people to tell you, I'm in that category, make sure it's free from, without them telling you what for.
Right. Exactly. Well, and I always describe, and Danielle just commented, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. You were an alcoholic, right? And it's something that you're constantly battling with. And so just everybody, this is Heather Landex. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, the host of the Eating at a Meeting podcast. And I'm talking to Heather Landex, who believes that food and beverage should be an inclusive opportunity for food service professionals across the board. So we're just chatting because we're two peas in a pod.
And we're talking about the common denominator,
yes,
and how that can make you money. Because if you could please the person that might be slightly irritating to serve because they want something that you don't have on your menu, or they're slightly annoying because you make them wait for their food, or you make them do something that's more effort for them, that they annoy the group they're with, they might go and eat somewhere else, and then you've lost the whole group. And you've lost that common denominator, or that person with a high requirement, shall we say, whatever it is. They will then tell other people, probably with the same type of requirement, that you can serve them, and you serve them well, and they don't have to risk that they're going to get a jerk serving them, or go somewhere and not be able to eat, or go somewhere and be shamed or embarrassed or inconvenienced, or the food's just awful and they've had to pay the same. Sometimes they pay extra for a poor quality salad with chips, you know, that they had to wait twice as long for. So I think this whole treating people the same, you can actually plan for this.
Yeah.
You should expect it.
You should expect it. And just, this is a food safety thing. The other day I was having dinner or breakfast with my niece in DC, and during our entire breakfast waiting for our food, I kept getting dripped on by the air conditioner, right? It just kept dripping on my head and on my lap and on my table and whatever. And I was annoyed, but I could deal with it. Didn't want to move the table out of the way because I'm the diner or whatever. But then when it dropped right into my plate, into my food, I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want that. And they ended up, discounting my meal for that, because I'm like, that's just kind of gross. But the same thing with, that's a food safety issue that you should have taken care of as well.
I have a better one.
Yeah.
I was at Heathrow Airport and I was in a hurry. And I got an avocado salad, which was pathetic. It was half an avocado with some leaves. And I started eating it, and it tasted a disinfectant, really like chlorine, and I could smell it. And I do have quite a sensitive sense of smell, but I was like, this is inedible. And she started, so the waiter was like, ha, 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 we just cleaned our dishwasher. And I go, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And she didn't do anything about it.
Wow.
So I was so annoyed. And I was in a rush. I was at the airport. I reported them to environmental health because that is unacceptable behaviour, that they wouldn't even check that they could do something about contaminating someone's food with chlorine. And it probably was chlorine if it's a deep clean of the dishwasher. And it was unbelievable that she didn't even write it down anywhere or tell anyone there'd been an accident or worry about me or replace my food.
Right. How did it get into your food if they just cleaned the dishwasher?
Because it'll have been, the plate will have stunk of, they haven't rinsed it, and it'll have stunk of residue of quite a strong chemical.
Okay.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. So, okay. So, and you're not going to ever go back to that place, I'm sure. But there's a statistic that you shared with me that restaurants, food service providers, event planner, caterers can actually earn 10% more revenue by learning how to do this.
So if you look on the front of my book, it says MCA.
Yeah,
that's main course associates. They're financial experts in the restaurant industry.
Okay.
That's their 100% focus. They calculated that based on their own statistics. And I just said, can you call that network effect or common denominator? So the network effect is if you have the person with the allergy, or vegans are very good at this, they will take pictures of their food and go, eat here, vegans. And they will report you on websites like Happy Cow. If you haven't heard of Happy Cow, you're missing a trick with vegan. If you have a vegan option and you don't know what Happy Cow is, you're doing it wrong. And if you're not on Happy Cow and you have a vegan option, you must be doing something wrong because the vegans don't know you exist. And I think these sort of things, that network effect is free. You're just going to get free marketing. And you can even use it on Instagram or TripAdvisor or Just Eats. If you use the word vegan or the word milk-free or allergy-friendly, even if you put it on your website in the content where Google can read it, because if it's a PDF of allergy information, you know, these big documents people attach, robots can't see that. And that can get you, so if you're in a postcode area, if you're in a region where there's no competition, you'll be number one on Google Maps. People trust Google Maps. That's number one on Google Maps. I'm going to go there. Right.
That's true. Okay. Well, and my friend Shandy Chernow, who is the CEO of Certistar, she started this business to help restaurants, help consumers eat at restaurants and helps restaurants communicate to servers. Because I know one of your chapters in the book is about communication. It's key. But she has a statistic that, you know, the bill for the allergy person is 35% less than this traditional meal person, because we rely on eating just the broccoli or just
they take it out.
Because they're not learning to eat. But if there was something else on that menu that was really delicious for me, that was vegan or was free of this, and it communicated that, my bill would go up.
I do have a good example to tell you. It's in the book as well, so you could look it up if you can't follow what I'm talking about because I have an accent. It's thelounges.co.uk. It's quite a big group of restaurants. You've got two different brands, but they have a filterable menu that you can say, I'm a vegan and I mean it, and I'm not going to accept any may contains of milk. And then you can have everything on the menu. But when I started writing the book, if you click this may contain, you know, it's a disclaimer basically. You can eat anything except for 3 vegan cakes. And it'll be because the 3 vegan cakes, they can just open a new one and then it's guaranteed from the manufacturer. So they're bought in cakes or similar, like they do it that way. But because they actually have a separate fryer for vegan products, they actually have a separate area for gluten-free. You can tick the box for gluten-free and vegan, and I won't accept milk. And you can still eat from every item in the menu. So and it tells you the desserts, and if you wanted it gluten-free, they can even explain how they make it gluten-free, because they say, well, we're just not going to put any bread on there. We've got a guaranteed gluten-free product that they just add to the plate. So it has been made in a free-from factory. It's so clever.
Well, that's awesome. Well,
it's planning. It's planning. Yeah.
And that's what Shandy's app does, Certistar does as well. It helps restaurants do that. Well, and that reminds me of me eating out down at the beach here at oh my gosh, I'm going to forget the name of the restaurant right now, but it'll come to me. But I posted online after the fact that I had fried shrimp. And when the expediter was bringing it out to me, or bringing out all of the other meals, she's like, I'm sorry, but they missed the reading that you wanted the gluten-free fried shrimp. So I sent it back, and you're going to get your fried shrimp in just a second. But the whole thing about it is that their entire restaurant, majority of their items on the restaurant, even fried, can be done gluten-free. They have a dedicated fryer. The fried shrimp, the fried fish, the French fries, right, can all be done gluten-free. And the family did this because their family is celiac. Mm-hmm. But I posted it on how the servers reacted, how well they were trained, my meal. And they saw that posting on Facebook, and they shared it out to their community. And they got 3 new clients from that who commented saying, I live in this town and I didn't know that. And so that restaurant doesn't promote it. So that's that Google thing that you were mentioning a minute ago.
Well, so that's that brand that I just told you about, because they've got a nice website. And it was actually a marketer that showed me it, because he said, oh, I've got a nice one to show you. So maybe it was me that tweaked that thing a year ago, where I was like, what 3 vegan cakes? I was going to make a joke out of it. But they're not on Happy Cow. And they have a whole vegan menu that's contamination free, and they're not on Happy Cow. They hadn't heard of it.
Well, and like on Allergy Eats and on Happy Cow, there's a lot of restaurants that are, what I find on both of them is that there are a lot of chains, more so than independent restaurants. And I think that's where independent restaurants can really and caterers can really promote themselves better by doing that. Because to me, chains are not, that's the go-to where we want to go to, because it's fast and it's convenient. But you're going to get a better experience, to me, at an independent restaurant who knows what they're doing.
I do have a very good example in the book as well of a lady who opened a restaurant just before COVID. Poor thing. Yeah. And I was hypothetically searching for a place to eat, because obviously we were all locked up. And I have a friend with a peanut allergy, and I was trying to compare places because I have a bad experience to explain it as well. And she said, oh, but it gets so complicated to talk about what we could take in and what we could substitute and all the things. I make everything from scratch. I could do whatever you want. I was like, put that on your menu.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
She's amazing as well. She's going the whole of the UK now, because she's doing a delivery service instead of having a restaurant due to COVID. Wow. So I can go to the UK and have a free from delivery service.
That's so fantastic.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is that I don't think people realize that scratch kitchens, making everything from scratch, they actually have a better opportunity to make you a free from meal than if you're going to a chain.
And if you've got a competent chef,
yes,
they also need competent servers, competent ingredient management, like they need the system. They can't just, some of them can. They can't just go, oh, I'll make this for them. Because that usually involves a salad with chips and a dressing, right? And they might not even think, what have I fried on there? What's been in the fryer? Right. And I do know a place where they sent away a fish allergy sufferer. And she sort of said, where's my disclaimer? I want to eat here anyway. Anaphylactic without an EpiPen. And I was like, you can't take on that responsibility. But couldn't you have just made her something simple? Right. And it's because they were trying to make her something from the menu and they couldn't guarantee it, that was the problem. I was like, well, she hasn't booked in advance, but on your website, you say something along the lines of, we'll do our best to accommodate, when you should be saying, if you contact us in advance, we can do something spectacular. If you just show up, there's a chance we can't. Right.
And that's a key point, is knowing in advance. And so that's really important for people who have the dietary need. Let your meeting planner, let your restaurant know, let your caterer know in advance that you have something, so that you're not left with a plate of carrots, or you're not, thrown out, right? Because they're scared to accommodate you.
I think some chefs have forgotten how to cook vegetables there, because you can make really cool food from vegetables, and sometimes they're just taking stuff out, and it's really, really dull. It's just not impressive at all, when they're actually capable, if they need the time to think about it in advance. Right. And even if it was walk-ins, if you've already thought, oh, I might get some people who don't want milk, that's quite high chance, 1 in 5. Oh, I might get someone who doesn't want fish for whatever reason. I always used to put no fish. I never used to tell them why. But they never checked with me if it was an allergy or not. and there were still fish in the room. And if I'd have been anaphylactic to fish, they wouldn't have kept me safe. So I think it's this communication in advance. This is what you have to do if you need this. This is what you have to go here to check this. Let us know this way in advance. And I think that even having an hour's notice would help a lot of chefs to use their creative juices, because they probably miss that quite a lot these days. And they can come up with something exciting.
And do you have some restaurants that have thought about it this way differently and are seeing that 10% growth?
I'm sort of blowing my own mind a little bit sometimes. I was just helping out a very nice fine dining restaurant, and it's because it's my compliance buddy's buddy, that sort of thing. And he was saying, oh, well, we find it really hard to find an afternoon tea that's suitable for vegans. It's not the same quality as our afternoon tea, so we don't want to offer it. And I was like, but if I look at your lunch menu and your dinner menu, 50% of your menu is actually vegan anyway, coincidentally. And it's only because you've recently put on your allergy information. In the UK, there's a huge wave of allergy stuff because the law's changing. So you'd put VG on lots of things. Okay, well, Google can't see that you've got vegan. If I search for your TripAdvisor, I don't know that you've got loads and loads of vegan options. And your afternoon tea currently has one item that's got VG next to it. Why don't you just take the cake from the lunch menu? If someone asks for vegan, if they don't ask for vegan, you don't have to make any afternoon tea that's vegan.
Right.
So what he came back and it took him a couple of days. He came back and he'd done a 14 allergen-friendly, vegan, gluten-free afternoon tea, and it looked like an afternoon tea.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
usually scones is my thing, because vegan scones are so easy. You just substitute the dairy for the non-dairy. It's really easy. Yeah. But the cream is usually left off, so you get vegan scones and then you get like nothing with it, jam. Right. Whereas that's not afternoon tea. It's supposed to be luxurious, and this had like an alternative clotted cream substitute. Wow. And I thought that's amazing for people with lactose intolerance as well, because they can just rest easy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Danielle just said this happens a lot. She was at a restaurant with her family and she was pescatarian. The chef came out and asked if he could prepare a vegetable meal. He was extremely excited, and it was the whole and that's one challenge that meeting planners have a lot. And Danielle, you know this, is that, the vegetable meal or the gluten-free meal, the vegan meal comes out and everybody's like, oh, I want that, right? And so they don't, so it messes up the numbers. So we have to be conscientious of that too. But why not make them all look that delicious, right?
Mm-hmm. And there's a good thing about choice. So I've had a vegan, lactose-friendly, and they did treat it like an allergy, which was nice of them. I had a nice little prepared dish, and I opened it, and it was jackfruit curry. I was like, wow, this looks amazing. It looks better than everyone else's. Except it had so much chili in it, it was inedible.
Oh.
So I had to go around the buffet, which they hadn't got any labeling. They hadn't prepared for someone to be using the buffet who has a dietary preference. I had to ask about everything. And I asked about guacamole. I'm like, there's no dairy in that, is there? And he's like, why would there be dairy in guacamole? And like, some people put dairy in guacamole. Some people put dairy. They put, I don't even know what they put in it, sour cream. And then, they put mayonnaise in it. And I think it's probably to dilute it. Or they put yogurt in hummus. That shocked me as well.
Yes, that there was one hummus that I had somewhere, and I'm like, why would you add whatever the ingredient was? It was very strange. I'm like, there's no need to add that to hummus. Which now everybody needs to know that sesame is now one of the top 9 allergens in the U.S. It actually was named a top allergen in April of this year. The U.S. was the 45th or 46th country to name sesame as a top allergen, which is found in hummus. So, so
tahini people don't realize. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so sometimes I make my hummus without tahini and sometimes I make it with it. But yeah, that is a big allergen now. So how can people, and everybody, again, this is Heather Landex. She just published this book, Inclusive, the New Exclusive.
And we're twins.
Money by feeding people with dietary restrictions. So how can
covert, what's it called? Divergent evolution, isn't it? We've evolved on separate sides of the ocean. But...
Yes. Yes. Speak my language. where can people find you? And where do you work and what's all of that? And I've got your links, so I'll put them in here, but tell everybody as well.
I do a lot of work in the UK just because it's natural. But I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, but I do everything online these days. So COVID has helped me in that way that I can talk to you. I wouldn't have found you otherwise, would I?
Exactly.
But I'm the only Heather Landex, so you can probably find me quite easily on Google. But I quite like hanging out on LinkedIn. But I actually offering you and your audience a discounted book, so it's at cost.
Awesome. Thank you.
Book.heatherlandex.com. So that should be quite easy to remember as well.
Yep.
And if you use the coupon code Tracy, make sure you don't put an E in it.
I won't. I'll book that, and then everybody who's listening can get the code. There we go.
Yeah, or it is on Amazon if you don't want to get in contact. And on Amazon, if you've got a special account, you can probably get it free through Kindle if you like Kindle. I don't like Kindles myself.
Yeah, holding that book is
yeah, and that's how people get hold of me. And what I normally do is like a virtual audit where I can look at all of their communication available online and share them where there's money left behind.
Say that last part again.
I can show them where there's money left behind.
So money left on the table. Left behind. Yes.
Yeah.
Where there's money left behind. For sure.
And what I'm realizing now, post publishing, is that there's actually a lot of people already leaning this way, and they just need to see the extra opportunities, like plant-based restaurants that are very allergy friendly and very clever with food, because some of them are amazing what they're producing. And they don't know that they have this whole other market of people that are eating with them. For example, a vegan restaurant, the largest vegan restaurant in the UK, 80% of their customers are not vegan.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. That's a humongous opportunity for standard caterers, for standard restaurants as well, to add vegan options.
And if you have the allergy-friendly side for the vegan items like no milk, no egg, no shellfish, no fish, you're actually adding even more people to that.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to be poked to advertise that you're capable of doing animal-free or contamination-free, and you can, because you have the kitchen with no milk in it. It's just an extra assurance that the mainstream restaurants that have milk on the premises can't match you.
Right. Well, and then think about all the religious-based diets as well that easily eat vegan and vegetarian as too.
When they eat out, just because they're not sure if you cut it with the same knife and all of those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as you were saying at the beginning, which might have been too long ago now, if you turn it upside down, you can always have this allergy-friendly vegan option that you then. Or you can even make it sometimes gluten-free if there's something you can take out or put in. But you can always add cheese if someone wants cheese, or add egg, or add something else to it. Sesame.
Right.
Soya is one people worry about when they do vegan. They're like, but it's not soya-free. And you're like, well, actually, the number of people who have a soya anaphylaxis is very, very low compared to milk.
Right.
So maybe offer them something else that's soya-free. And can be made vegan. You could do it the other way around. There's sort of have the same menu, so you don't have to purchase in anything extra. It's just you know what to do when it's asked for. It's just knowing what to do saves you a lot of time, energy, and reduces mistakes.
I like that, knowing what to do. And the one thing about vegan too that individuals have to think about with the other allergens are nuts and peanuts, and that's just where a lot, and soy get used in a lot of vegan products. So just making sure that you definitely note those things because they are top allergens.
And I think now they're talking about when people have a serious peanut allergy, they might actually be allergic as well to some of the other peas and beans, and there's a bit of a crossover there. And it might even be that there's a crossover with nuts because they're processed in the same factories or the same food chain, and it's that sort of harvesting level of contamination, which is it's very difficult for a human to imagine all these risks and calculate what the actual risk is.
Right. Yeah. And you don't want to, let's look at it as an opportunity and not as the risk. I mean, there is risk involved, but look at it as an opportunity to get that 80% of people into your restaurant because they're
there's a huge study about how many people are overconfident with their abilities. And you just need to make sure you're the confident because you are competent. And it's just that having that level of training or that level of knowledge is going to put you ahead. So you might as well advertise that you have that. Even just saying, I'm trained to do this, which should give your customers more confidence that they wouldn't ever dare accuse you of something. Because sometimes just being accused is expensive.
Yes.
When they might be allergic to something else, which is also shocking that some people have sued when they're actually found out they're allergic to something else.
And not what
that's yeah. So that'll be the next press scandal thing. It'll be rather than naming laws after people who've died, usually children, we should be having a scandal the other way that, oh, look, they were falsely accused because they were so good. They've proven there was no doubt.
Oh, I love that. That would be so much better.
It is the same as food safety, though. You can prove you've done everything within your power to make them safe, including communicating well of what you could and couldn't do.
Right. And that's a conversation for me and my friend Tyra, who's an attorney, and we talk about this in the meetings industry, the legal aspects of it. Okay, so I want to know, I typically ask people, what their favorite food is, which you can answer if you want. But I want to know who would you love to have dinner with or have a meal with, alive or dead, if you could have anybody over for dinner?
I have a little list of people I suspect are vegan on the sly.
Yeah.
Like Leo DiCaprio or do you know Jamie Oliver?
Yes.
He's a cheeky. I like his journey, an entrepreneurial journey, because he's sort of like a brand, isn't he? It's not about his food and his restaurants anymore. It's more like he's trying to change the world with his school dinners, make everything healthier, and he took on McDonald's. And he's still really charming and likable. And he's the head of a plant-based investors company. And I'm like, so does that mean you're plant-based? Or, I think it's probably not in his interest to come out as vegan. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, and there's, I know some bakeries that didn't come out as vegan because they didn't want to get backlash from it. Right.
I think that's another conversation. I don't like it when plant-based restaurants call things chicken and bacon and cream and Gouda, like feta and Gouda. That means something. So I think that's a trading standards problem. You've tricked people. But when it's a donut shop and they just happen to be plant-based, then I think it's cool because it's still decent donut. It doesn't really, do you care what's in it? I'm sure you didn't care in the first place if it did or didn't. So
right. Exactly. Yeah. But as long as it tastes really good, then why not? Right. You do your taste testing on it. So,
but if you're pretending to be cheese and it's not milk, what is it? Because that might trick the allergy sufferers into thinking it's safe when it's not. So there's the whole other aspect of just call it what it is, be open and transparent about the ingredients.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, because there's so many things that are out there and new laws that are saying, well, you can't call it meat or you can't call it cheese if it's not that. And then I think there's some, is it in the UK that's saying you can't even use the same packaging format, like a milk carton?
That got quashed. That was stupid.
Okay. All right.
I think it's right. You should have at least what it's made of you should know what it's made of by looking at the title. So it could be like pea chicken. You can have if you put vegan in front of it, then it should be allowed. But you can't just take out a E, or sometimes they put it in brackets. And then that annoys me. That's just a trick again, isn't it? I think it's just about being straightforward, and marketers quite often go too far the wrong way about what's in the food and what's not.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just be transparent about it. Okay, so Heather Landex, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we found each other on LinkedIn, and I'm ecstatic to finish reading this book, The New Exclusive. It's how the food service industry can stop leaving money on the table. And you and I need to go on a road show and talk about this together. everybody, in the link there, I put where you can find Heather. And if you listened earlier, there is a discount to buy the book, to get a discount on the book at book.heatherlandex.com. So make sure you go back and listen to the entire podcast, so you can get that code. But my dear, thank you so much.
Well, the main message in the book is it only takes a change in mindset. You've only got to see the money on the table, then it's yours.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So that's changing your mindset. It really is just changing your mindset. Danielle, thank you very much. She said has been quite enjoyable to listen to us. Thank you for listening to us. And
thanks for jumping on, because we completely did an impromptu little thriller.
We did. We totally did. And so this is the Eating at a Meeting podcast, live edition, impromptu, especially today. On this podcast, I talk to experts in all facets of food and beverage so that we can create safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for everyone. We want everyone to be able to eat. And actually, what was that quote? Everybody should be able to.
Everyone has to be able to eat.
Right. Everybody has to be able to eat. Exactly. So make some extra money with that. And by doing that. So, and tomorrow I will actually be live as well. It'll be 12 o'clock Eastern with my friend Bob, who we're going to talk about how this all plays into customer experience and raising the level of experience to increase that the bottom line as well. So Heather, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, everybody, stay safe and eat well.